Welcome back, everyone. This is Aluminum Tarot. Thanks so much for joining today. My name is still top secret, but I don't know. We're going to be doing a reading for today. I think I'm going to bring back after a long time, and I think it's going to be the Message of Hope spread. I think it's going to be pretty important as we transition past this period of the Black Moon in Virgo, moving into the two eclipses that will take place for September this year. And with these eclipses, I've already experienced two of them in the recent past earlier this year, and it's been an absolute doozy of a situation to encounter. During this period, I had a lot of loss. There was a lot of loss. And I think that for those who are affected by those previous eclipses that took place, I think once in January and once in March, if I'm not mistaken, we do realize that they have a profound impact on the individual, based on, I guess, your moon sign or even your sun, moon, and rising, I would say, or anywhere you have any major placements. So I want to kind of give a message of hope that will hopefully allow people to kind of look into the future with a bit more optimism and joy and see that there are some good things taking place in their near future. So I'm going to go ahead and pull from the Steampunk Tarot deck, which is going to be used for the tarot portion of this reading, and also the oracle cards here, which are the accompaniment Lenormands for the Steampunk series. So, as always, if you like what you see here, please be sure to give a like, share, subscribe, ding that notification bell so that you don't miss any updates from future postings. And additionally, please just support the channel by doing that, or getting rid of any spammers or people who are scamming others out of their money. This has always been a long-standing issue with the tarot community on YouTube and otherwise. And I think that it's time that we start nipping these in the buds, especially those twits that, are posting in the comments all the time about, back in my day, it was really difficult. But then I started reading the book, the 1,000 Ways to Achieve Happiness by such and such. And this changed my life, and they're really just scammy pieces of shit. So do your best to call those things out the box and make sure that you block and report them. So that said, I'm going to get off my rant. We will go into the reading. We're going to start with one of the oracle deck messages. So what we have here is number 29. This is the young woman. And with this, we can find that there's a pretty interesting message here. I guess for whoever wants to, understand what this means in the context of the Lenormand deck. So it's about a female associate, a friend, family member, female influence, wife, lover, or romantic interest. So we already see that this is going the direction of love. Perhaps maybe tapping into your personal feminine. But this is a gorgeous card that I love to look at. Throughout these decks, they have amazing illustrations, and they do quite good justice when it comes to channeling some of those symbols that are present within the deck. So, that said, we talk a little bit about this woman. She seems to be raising a glass. She has a dragonfly on this glass, and I noticed that I took a walk recently one sunny day earlier this week, and I saw that there were a lot of like electric blue, almost whitish dragonflies that were populating my path. And it was really nice to see them, because dragonflies tell you to go with the flow and to be able to change and adapt to difficult circumstances in life, and also to be able to have your intuition on basically full mast when you are able to do this and when you are doing this. And so this next to the wine, which is another symbol, which also talks about, being at a kind of like a spiritual capacity. You think about when Jesus turned water into wine, it was turning the spiritual energy into something that brought about ecstasy for the individual. That's one way I interpret it. And also, that being, wine is being a kind of symbol for the blood of Christ, or generally speaking, the blood of the human spirit or the individual, which represents that kind of vitality and health. And oftentimes they say, you're supposed to drink a glass of wine a day, as they would say in Italy, or something like that. And that normally helps with ailments, different types of things, heart issues. And with this dragonfly on here, resting on this wine glass, I get the impression that you are reaching a period in which you are able to use your intuition to guide you towards the things that do bring you ecstasy and joy within your own life. And with this woman, it's about being feminine, receptive to those things, and being in a good standing so that you can cultivate whatever it is that you choose to attract, and then bring it in. And this is almost, I'm getting a lot of Empress vibes here. She's also holding a bouquet of flowers. If I'm not mistaken, this is lavender. And she seems to be doing pretty well off. So the abundance that you do create is coming in. That's what I feel, generally speaking, when I see this card. This is a person who has been able to channel this for their own lives, and now they're just waiting for the abundance and the blessings to come in. And that's what I see taking place in that photo, in that illustration there. So we're going to start with the message of hope. I'm going to pull 7 cards. Each of the cards represents yourself and 6 things that you can take note of as you are going through your dark period. What messages do we have for our audience? What messages of hope do you have for our audience, Spirit? What messages of hope do you have for our audience, Spirit? One more. This deck shuffles so well, I love it. I use that for the Gemini reading, the bonus reading that they had, because I just wanted to bring them back out. I have not been using them that much, but I love the way they operate. Current energies. First thing to note, first message of hope. Second message of hope. Third message of hope. Oh, there's some very good cards coming out here. Fourth message. All right, look at that. Fifth message. And number 6. Wow. Very good cards I'm seeing here. Some of them look intimidating, but they're not really. And we will see what the challenge is for this reading. What is the challenge? Okay, so what we see here is that you are in Emperor mode. Now, we did pull the Oracle deck card, which talked a little bit about tapping into the feminine, but I do see this Emperor deck. You're going to swiftly move away from that feminine energy. Once the opportunity comes in, then you're going to take charge and control of that, so that way you can masterfully use it or to take full advantage of it. So with our 6 things that we've got here, 6 messages plus the central theme here, our central theme is the 10 of Wands. And what this talks about is oftentimes we look at situations that we're dealing with and they seem to be very pressing, very difficult to get through. And you oftentimes find that it's very challenging. But the good news is that you are in number 10, which is the end of a difficult phase for this. Now, it's the number of completion. And oftentimes, we see that, I'll explain this later, but this also relates, I feel, to the time machine or the Wheel of Fortune, which is also number 10. But when we look through this, 10 is normally that completion of a cycle, going through all of the stages of a specific elemental deck, elemental set. And so what we talk about, when you have this difficult thing that you face, you have to keep moving and going, especially with the 10 of Wands, because it's a card of action. And with those wands, you're carrying those things to your destination and you've almost reached it. So what we are learning throughout all of this is that whatever difficulties that you're faced now, it is near its end. And so don't forget that, even as you struggle through the last bits of this difficult challenge. When we see this, the challenge itself is the Four of Cups in the reverse. So what happens is if you give up in this particular sit, this particular thing that you're going through, what you're doing is you can eventually miss out on a grand opportunity. Normally, with the Four of Cups in the upright, you are conscientiously, if I can speak today, trying to avert a fourth opportunity being presented to you by the hand of God. So you had the 3 in the past, that represents the celebration. The 4 is when the guy's saying, okay, I'm taking a break. Or maybe something happened at the party. I just don't want to accept this, fourth cup right now. I'm a bit tipsy, kind of a bit on the arse right now, and it's not something that I want to entertain another pint. So it's a bit of it's like avoiding that excess. So the person is taking the time to get emotional stability by not going into excesses at that particular point. Because it's a number 4, it represents getting into stability. The number 4 here also, which was at the bottom of the deck, is the Emperor card, which talks about being stable, grounded, and masculine in your energy. Whereas the number 3 would be the Empress, which is about expansion. The Emperor is about control and restraint, gaining control of that energy and then actually manipulating it and using it in a way to command authority. What we want to look at with these 6 messages that you have here, and I'm hoping I'm not messing up the camera or anything like that, but we start with the first one. We start with the number 5. So at the bottom of the deck, we had the Emperor. That's the energy you're moving into. One of the things that is the message of hope for you is about learning the lessons from the past. And the Emperor, not the Emperor, but the Hierophant is the one that comes after the Emperor. So the Emperor relies on the lessons from the past that are needed in order to learn, grow, and develop, and to organize the structures of everything. Because we notice when we go through the major arcana, we go through the Fool's journey. We go from number 4, which is the Emperor, which comes after the Empress, after the growth and period expansion. Things have to become stable and crystallized. That's what the Emperor represents. Then it goes to the 5, learning about what to do next and using the lessons from the past in order for that to become a reality. And then after that, moving into the choice, the Lovers. And then from there, after that choice becomes a strong, okay, I'm doing this, then we move out of the familiar comforts of the city, going into the Chariot, which is fast progress towards something new. So what you're doing right now, this message talks about learning the lessons that are needed that you can carry with you as you begin to lay these wands down in the very end of your difficult journey. What did I learn from this? How did this help me to grow and develop as a person? How can I take these skills, these talents, these lessons that I've learned, no matter how difficult they may have been, what can I do now in order to make myself a more evolved individual? We also see here that the Hierophant in here is the Horologer, which also talks about the timekeeper. This is a Taurus card, but because it's the Horologer, time is represented by Saturn. So I oftentimes see this as like almost like a Venus in Capricorn energy, but it's a combination of Saturn and Taurus, or not Taurus, but like Venus energy, sorry. And with the combination of these two, it creates this structure that is based on the wisdom of the ages, and that's what allows people to have a civilization, have a society that can perpetuate into the ages. So we notice that those societies that recognize their past have a bright and long future. So that's how you can see that, how can I ensure the success of what it is that I'm trying to bring into my life? It's going to be made enduring and long lasting if I can take those lessons and not forget what we went through in the past, process that, and then use that to propel yourself forward. The next message here is the time machine, which is the Wheel of Fortune that we talked about earlier. So the Wheel of Fortune says you are on the right path, and that you have already gone through the hermit phase, which is about going within, taking that light of the star and using it to get the wheel moving. Oftentimes when we feel stuck in life, we look at our lives and we say, well, what can I do? I don't know which direction to go. I don't know where to turn. The time machine is actually, if I'm not mistaken, it's ruled by Sagittarius. And Sagittarius comes after Scorpio. Scorpio is the crisis, and you do have this crisis here in one of the cards, which is the Tower reversed. We'll get into that a bit more later, but we have the time machine that comes right after the crisis. In essence, Scorpio, and then moving into Sagittarius. So with the time machine, we've gone in, we've processed all the pain and the hurt from a lot of the things we've gone through in the past, going in within, trying to receive those answers as the hermit, and then we finally move forward with the Wheel of Fortune. And so that tells us that you are on the right path. You are making your way to your destination. Things will begin to move. They will begin to change. So if you felt stuck, just realize that the change is right around the corner, because the Wheel of Fortune with that Sagittarian energy is very fast moving, and it can signal fortune or misfortune. And this is something I think for you, intuitively, I see that as being a very fortunate phase for you to go into. So next we have the Three of Cups. This is the Three of Submersibles. In this, submersibles are submarines. And what we are talking about is you will have something to celebrate with your friends, family, and loved ones very soon. I think for you, not only is this a group of people that are supporting you to help you through the difficult times, but it's the same group of people that when you cross the finish line, they're the ones waiting for you to congratulate you. So around you, you always find a network of people who can support you in different ways. And I think that for your specific reading, it tells us the story about being able to tap into those networks. And additionally, you have the ability to find value in what you have gone through, what struggles you have had to endure, by celebrating, marking the milestone with the people that love and care for you. And they are abundant all around you. So if you feel alone, never forget that there's always a support system for you, and always know that there's someone that you can talk to about any difficulties and struggles that you're going through, especially when you're nearing the end of those. Far too often we hear about people who feel as if they're completely empty and alone. And even though they're surrounded by people who love them, they can still feel as if the crisis is too difficult to bear. And that's when we have a lot of these mental health crises that have been taking place, been documented quite extensively throughout news and media. And, I can definitely say we've lost some good people because of that. Very, very good people. Even those in the spotlight. But just know that you always have someone nearby you who can understand the difficulties that you are experiencing. And additionally, that you can come to when you have overcome them. So, next one we have the Tower card, but it is in the reverse. So whatever difficulty you've gone through, whether that is losing a job, whether that is, a breakup, a divorce, a loss of money or finances, any of those types of things. The best thing about this, when I look at the Tower in the reverse, is that when you were working in a specific field or when you were with a person, it could have been much worse had you stayed. If you had continued to build that tower, you would probably be in a much more difficult situation than now. And that's sometimes why the tower has to fall. Now, if you can have the tower reverse, it typically means that you have avoided or averted that disaster. Now, for you, I think it's going to be very important to look at the situation about what you were experiencing in the past, how you had to extricate yourself from that or get away from that. And then afterwards, what would have happened if you stayed? Think about that. If you had stayed in that poor marriage, that really bad marriage, if you had stayed with that dead-end job where you were getting bullied and, workplace mobbed every day, think about what would have happened if you had continued to invest in that, cryptocurrency or anything, that was losing its value, or that you had continued to indulge in certain things that would have eventually, been the foundation for a fall from grace. What you want to do in these situations and circumstances is you want to build a foundation that is firm, solid, and long-lasting. Something based on what the Hierophant would provide for for you. And what we're saying now is that don't look back at your situation in a way that would say to you, I missed out, I had such a difficult thing, I lost an opportunity. Sometimes when this Four of Cups is in the reverse is the challenge, we may be looking at things in the past and feeling like we missed out on a great opportunity to continue something, when in reality it was the detriment of our life. It is the challenge. Not losing that thing was the challenge, but the challenge itself was staying in that circumstance. Next, we have the Six of Swords in the reverse. When I see this as a message of hope, what we are talking about is it's difficult for you to make the transition from a difficult, from a bad situation to a more healthy situation. And sometimes what we need to do, we need to gain a clearer perspective on what is taking place in our life, why we're going through such difficulties. And it can always make us feel as if we are experiencing turmoil constantly and that we're stuck in this cycle that is never ending. You may ask yourself, why do I keep experiencing these types of relationships? Why do I keep having such horrible shit bosses or things like that? Why am I constantly going back to these addictions when all I need to do is walk away? Well, the good news is that there's always a way to do that. Now, when the Six of Swords is in the upright, what it typically tells us is that you are making that transition with basically nothing but whatever resources you have available to you, and that there is someone there to support you to get over that, that chasm or that body of water that is going to allow you to reach the other shore and to be put in a better position than where you were before. If the way to see that is not clear, reach out to your networks, because this card is right next to the Three of Swords and the last card, which I will explain very soon. So using your resources around you, it's important for you to right that ship, and then you can find your way to your new home. So you could be moving. Six of Swords oftentimes talks about someone who's moving house, and this is normally a long distance travel because it's over a body of water, and it could be to a new country, or it could actually just simply be to a place that's very far away. But in doing so, it helps you to gain clear perspective on whatever it is that you have faced in the difficult past, moving into the future. And so that's why you have this Hierophant card here. Again, learn the lessons of the past, then you can right that ship, and it will take you to your new destination where things will be much better for you. So last but not least, we have the happiest card in the deck as your message of hope. So of all the cards that we have pulled here, the Time Machine, I would definitely say, is a positive card, but also the Sun is the happiest card in the deck, and the most abundant and prosperous one. And you can see here that the Sun is actually providing this entire civilization with all of the things that they need. And by doing so, they can continue to thrive and be abundant. And it's that Sun that brings about the abundance because it feeds all life within our ecosystem. And furthermore, within the solar system, wherever there may be, other life on other planets. But what we can deduce this to as a message, we see that happiness is right around the corner. You are making the transition. You are nearly there. And that this happiness is promised to you. It's not always a right, because we do have to work for this. But it is guaranteed when we make the effort. Before the Sun, we have the Moon. And then after the Sun, we have Judgment. So in order to receive this revival of your life in a better position, in a better place, with better people, with better pay, with a better partner, we have to go through the Moon period, and then that takes us into the Sun. And so it's always darkest before dawn. And one of the themes of this whole channel is actually looking at our lives and understanding that the difficult circumstances that we face are what lead us to the happy moments, and there is no light without darkness. And by doing that, we have a mature understanding of what the meaning of suffering is, and that can take us into a life where we can assess what the suffering was and how it actually shaped and sculpted our life into something that is positive, bright, and shining like that. So that is really it. That's the entire message, but I hope this has been of use for you, and I pray that whoever needed to hear this message is able to take the lessons here from this, and that things are working out for you. Just to remember that, because these are very, very positive cards. I think that if you look at your life right now and you can say, oh, well, it doesn't look like it's moving forward, it will move forward soon. And, I'm wishing you all the best on your journey for doing that. Well, this is Aluminum Tarot once again. It's been a pleasure to read for you. If you like what you see here, please be sure to give a like, share, subscribe, ding the notification bell so that you don't miss any updates. And also you can feel free to buy me a coffee. That's really all I ask for, because I'm not doing personal readings. And yeah, let's try to boost the algorithms. We'll see what we can do. Anyways, thanks so much. And as always, love and light. Until next time.